What's up, guys? We've got a Mishimoto Turbo Blanket for Project FC3. These things look super sharp in the engine bay. They're relatively simple to put on the car. Let's go check it out. What's up, guys? It's JP from Edge Autosport. Thank you for joining us. We have Project FC3 behind me. We're doing another very simple but very effective, kind of a cool mod, in my opinion. It's a turbo blanket from Mishimoto, and these things are very functional. They're fairly simple, but they're pretty cool. This turbo blanket, it's not super big or bulky. It's fairly, fairly low profile. But it's important to know that this thing is not going to, it's not really adding functionality to what's already there. Honda already puts plenty of heat shielding on the turbo and the downpipe itself. And ultimately, heat shielding is meant to keep the heat in the exhaust stream and not, radiate out into the engine bay. Two reasons. It's better to keep heat in the exhaust stream. It keeps the heat energy up, keeps the flow better. But also, you just don't want heat in the engine bay, obviously. That's not ideal to have basically a heater just radiating heat into the engine bay. You don't want, heat is bad for making power, so you don't want heat in there. But if you want a cool, visually appealing and still very functional heat shield in your engine bay, a turbo blanket is a great way to do it. This is a titanium, I think they call it like lava shield or something. It's kind of got the titanium burnt look here on the outside and a nice clean weave on the outside. And then on the inside, I'll give Mishimoto some credit for kind of sealing this almost. Some turbo blankets, you have the fibers that are like exposed with the metal stainless grate inside, kind of keeping them down, but it's still kind of exposed, which is also why I'm wearing gloves. Usually you want to wear gloves when you're handling these turbo blankets because they have that fiberglass, loose fiber that's, this one has it on the inside, but some of them have it just kind of exposed right here. So it'll irritate your skin, and you definitely don't want to breathe it in if it becomes loose and airborne. So, usually wear a pair of gloves and during the install, and you'll be good to go. Once you put this on the car, it's something that Mishimoto says you should leave there. It's not designed to be put, taken off and put on, taken off and put on. Not that you'd really have a reason to, but once it heats up for the first time and then several heat cycles after that, it kind of forms its shape and kind of hardens into the shape that you originally put it on. So anyway, this is a relatively smooth install. I've installed a couple of these things. They're nothing too complicated. They do include a couple of these nice springs right here and some, safety wire, I call it, or some wire, some metal wire that will help us secure this to the turbo. You can already tell it's kind of got some cutouts for like the wastegate arm right here. There's a couple different ways you can install it with the wire or the springs. So I don't know exactly how this is going to go on, but we're going to take the car apart and just kind of put it on and figure this out ourselves. So come join us, have some fun. If you have any questions or comments, put them below. We'd be glad to help. And of course, this is available on edgeautosport.com. Go to our website to check it out. Usually they are readily available. So we'll see you on the flip side of this install. Okay, so that is what we needed to do just to clear out some space to put the heat shield on. Obviously, you can see the turbo, or the heat shielding at least, and this thing doesn't allow you to retain the factory heat shielding, this AFE power downpipe. I know, I'm pretty sure PRL's does. So this really isn't ideal, to be honest with you. This is generating heat in the engine bay, and it's something that we'll fix at some point, but you know, all the heat shielding from the factory downpipe sits right here, but this is all still factory. This is kind of what we're replacing right here. So again, this is functional material right here, not for show, not for clean engine bays. This is functional. We're just kind of replacing this right here. So we just have to take this O2 sensor out, take this bracket off, or take this shield off of its bracket, 4 bolts, 2 right there and 2 right here, and then we should be able to kind of mock up the turbo blanket and see how it's going to take shape in there. All right, so everything's apart. We've got the turbo blanket in hand now. I'm just going to kind of mock it up, just throw it down in there, kind of see where it's going to sit, just so I understand what I need to do with the springs or the wire. At the end of the day, it's really your choice if you want to use the springs or the wire, like whatever works best for you. They probably include those in all of their turbo blanket kits and just kind of let you do whatever's convenient for you. But the first thing is I'm just going to make sure I understand how this fits in there, make sure it works with the O2 sensor and the wastegate arm and everything. And then I'll mess around with the springs and the wire later. Wire is a little bit tricky to work with. It's kind of hard to get tight unless you have the right tools or, you know, enough room to work and stuff. So the springs are very convenient. If you can make the springs work, then that's probably going to be the easiest, and the easiest to take off if you ever needed to also. So anyway, let's just mock this up right now. So you can see it goes, this is going to go down underneath this wastegate arm right here. And feel free, I mean, these are pretty durable. You can feel free to kind of smash this down in there. You know, this is all steel mesh stuff right here, so it's pretty durable. It's not gonna tear up very easy. So you can see right here, this is kind of where the wastegate arm, you know, you need to make sure to allow it to move and kind of go around here. So that's clearly where it sits. The O2 sensor is a little bit kind of in the way there. I don't know, I might like fold this under right here. I'll have to put the O2 sensor in there, but it might end up sitting just like that or something. So we'll see how that works. And then maybe once the O2 sensor's in there, you know, maybe we can do something like that. So let's go ahead and put the O2 sensor in first and go from there. So yeah, once that O2 sensor's in, it definitely looks, you know, pretty clean. Obviously, it'll really tighten up once we get that spring or the wire on there. You know, it'll tighten up a lot. So yeah, it snakes nicely right underneath the turbo. It goes basically all the way to the underside of the turbo, straight up to the head. It feels like it's like a finger length away, or finger width away from the head. So just like perfect length right underneath the turbo. So looks good so far. And actually, because you kind of need to look at where you're putting these springs on, so I think I'm going to put these on the bottom first, because I can easily put it on the top. So I'll put these springs onto the bottom one first. So it should hold on just fine. Yeah, so I mean, that works okay, I suppose. There's plenty of stretch left in there, so it shouldn't, I don't think that'll pull off anytime soon. There we go. So it's nice and tight underneath there. Looks a lot shinier, cooler, and yeah, I think that'll about do it. So it's probably wise to check the springs every once in a while, make sure they haven't like snapped off or something. But other than that, looks like that's about it. Safety wire is probably better. I'll just say that. But I think the springs are easier to put on. So anyway, I did it the easy way. They include the springs for a reason. You can still use them. But yeah, so we should just be able to get everything buttoned up, and you can definitely see a lot more of what we just did. It hugs the turbo a lot better than just like a shield covering everything. So, so yeah, looks pretty good. Let's get her buttoned back up, and we'll see how it looks as a finished install. Job is completed. The turbo blanket's in. So my final kind of thoughts about it are, it's definitely subtle. I pictured it being a little bit more pronounced, but I think that just has to do with the fact that there's so much crap that Honda puts, you know, snakes over the top of the turbo right here, this huge piece of plastic. So, you know, it's not as visible as you wish it could be, but it's definitely, I mean, it's noticeable. It's right there. You can see it without really trying to look hard for it. Obviously, if it's your own car, you're going to know it's there. You're going to see it plenty easily. But anyway, it's it's an aesthetic improvement at the very, very least in the engine bay. So I like it. Looks good, fits good, and I'm happy with it. So I think this is definitely going to be one of those mods that, you know, maybe if you just don't like the look of the stock heat shielding, or over time, you know, as water gets on it or the elements kind of start to make their way through your engine bay, that piece of metal is going to start maybe developing some surface rust or just kind of look crappy. This could easily replace that and be an improvement aesthetically, but retain the functionality of a heat shield. So, and it's not a super expensive mod. So pretty easy install, got everything buttoned back up, and we're all done. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Like I said, let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks, guys.